Hey guys, my name is Haley, and one day I will remember to start a vlog not directly after I get a shower. But I also feel the most awake after showers, so this just happens sometimes. But I'm just gonna start a reading vlog. I've been meaning to start one for like 2 days. I haven't done it yet, but I actually did start reading a book, and I figured I was going to do a themed one, but also I'm not reading a lot right now. So I feel like making it a theme and like forcing me to stick to a theme will not do well for the low key book slump that I've been in. So we're reading random books. I have like three different genres with me, but I started with Say a Little Prayer by Jenna Voris. And I know this is about religious trauma and a girl who was bi. So, aka me, myself, and I. And I, as you can see, have started tabbing it. I think I've read like 40 pages. Started tabbing, started annotating, and I just wanted to start the vlog and chat a bit about it because usually when I start annotating a book, that means I have quite a bit to say. Last time I remember like spontaneously deciding to annotate was with the Black Kids, and that is going to be on my favorite books of the year. So I've learned that I have more to say about books that I want to annotate because that doesn't happen very often. So we're gonna start with this book. We're gonna see what I get up to. I try to usually keep my reading vlogs down to like, I don't know, 30 minutes or so, maybe 40 every once in a while. I think I'm going to actually attempt to vlog the entire week because this video doesn't need to go up for a while. Like, I'll probably upload this on a Friday. I think I'm going to start doing reading vlogs on Fridays. So I'm going to actually see if I can get a decent amount of footage. I know people really like the hour-long vlogs. If you have a comment or an opinion, please let me know down below. Do you like the like 20, 30 minute or even 10-minute nunner, which I never do anymore? I talk too much. But what is your like preferred length for a vlog? Because I really, really like people who do like the hour-long vlogs, but I also really like a good 30, 40 minute. So we'll see how much footage I even get. I could say all this and only get 40 minutes of footage as per usual in the next week, but we will see. But I'm going to start with this book. And if you're here for the queer religious trauma, you're in the right place. And just like that, I finished a book and didn't film anything. This is a thing I need to get better about because I honestly don't like talking about books when I'm in the middle of them. I am very much a binge reader. I like to just sit and read as much as humanly possible, and that's exactly what happened here. This was 300 pages. As you might be able to tell, I loved it. And if you are one of the religious trauma girlies who grew up in purity culture or high control religion of any kind, may I recommend Say a Little Prayer by Jenna Boris. It was very real. If this had been any other contemporary about like a cute little sapphic thing, I read a lot of cute little sapphic like YA books in my time, and I usually really liked them. This hit different because it was so incredibly stupidly relatable for me as somebody who came out of a church cult. The conversations that Riley has in here about like how she felt and how the church excommunicated her sister and how she feels like she could never go back, but also there's a part of her who still like wishes that she could just believe in all of this again and that these people wouldn't like cast her out for being queer. This was too real. And I loved every single second of it. And it has been tabbed and dog-eared to death. And you will be hearing me talk about this more, especially when I finally get around to filming my religious trauma video. I have a religious trauma Rex like list I've had going for the last, I think, year and a half. And I've been compiling enough that I feel like I can make a whole video, and I feel like I have enough now. I might even have to split them between like contemporaries and like fantasy slash horror, because I also have quite a few horror ones. I would like to read 10 more of these, please. Jenna Voris, if you can get on that, that would be great. This also was set in like Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, which is an area I'm overly familiar with as somebody who grew up in Ohio. And like church camps, while I never went to them as a kid, I did frequent them. Like we would visit them a lot because I was 19 when I joined the church cult. So I was very wrapped up in this, even if not in necessarily this exact situation that Riley found herself in. But this definitely put me in the shoes of what if I went back? What would I do if I put myself back, even if it was kind of against my will, like it was with Riley? She gets sent to a summer camp because she got in a fight at school. And it was either that or miss her musical. And I was like, oh God, that's also me. I also would have done anything to not be kicked out of the musical. And she agrees to go back to her old church for a camp and become a good standing citizen to prove to her principal that she shouldn't be punished. And the story goes from there. There's also a very cute, like, sapphic romance in here. I cannot hype this up enough. If you have not already heard of it, please add it to your list, because we also read queer all year here. As you might be able to tell, all of the books, or most of the books that I have finished, I feel like since June, even though we're well past actual, like, generic Pride Month, I've been reading mostly queer books, or queer in some way. So, to follow on that train, I have The Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling. I don't know if this is queer. Caitlin Starling's original book, which I loved, her debut, I think it was her debut, called The Luminous Dead. If you've been on my channel for a while, you might recognize this cover because I talked about it all the time, and it's definitely going to be in a sapphic romance wreck. This is one of my favorite horror books of all time, so I've always wanted to try one of Caitlin Starling's other books, and this one has caught my eye the most of her newer books. I think this might be her newest one. I think it has something to do with cannibalistic nuns, which feels like I need that. But I also have the option, let's not break things, the option of starting Heaven Official's Blessing. If you've heard me talk about any sort of reading goal, oh God, it's so pretty. Any sort of reading goal in the last year or two, you would know that I've been wanting to get into danmei, which is Chinese boy love. People often mistake them for mangas. They're not mangas, they're more like light novels, if you know what those are. I own the first 3. I recognize that there are 8 of them. My library does have, I think, most of them. I don't know if they have all 8. I think they have up to volume 6. And as much as I don't, I think the main reason I keep putting the series off is I have a strong feeling that I'm going to binge it because that is what everyone says about this series. But I only own the first 3, and I don't have a whole lot of disposable income at this time because I just did a whole trip to LA and a huge move across the country. So we'll see if I actually end up starting this one. I also have I have a library copy of The Huskyna's White Cat Shizun, which is also a danmei. I believe my library has all of these, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know as much about this one as I know about MXTX and her books, but I also have that as an option if I do still want to read a danmei but don't want to start Heaven Officials. So we'll see where I go. It is still, again, the first day of this vlog, and I'm intending to film as much as humanly possible in the next week. I also plan to read as much as humanly possible in the next week or so, so we'll see how it goes. I will update you when I actually start another book. Hello, it's update time, and it is much later. It's like almost 10 o'clock, and I'm starting to get a little sleepy. And in true mood reader fashion, I have started neither of the books that I talked about in the last clip. I tried to start Heaven Official's Blessing. I just don't think I'm in like a fantasy mood quite yet. We'll see if that changes later this week. And I instead started another library book that I've had out. I just got a bunch of my holds came in, and this happened to be one of them, and I was like, I've heard good things about that. So I started Gray Dog. I'll throw up an actual picture for you because it's too dark to see that. But this is by Elliot Gish, and I have heard this. The only people I've ever heard talk about it are people who loved Slewfoot. Which, if you didn't know, Slewfoot by Brahm was one of my favorite books of last year because I loved the whole like Puritan settler time period about feminine rage and just women in general in that time period who thought outside of the box. And this, so far, I didn't know anything about it besides it had the same vibes as Slewfoot, is what most people say. So far, it's about a teacher. She's like close to 30, which was unheard of for somebody who was unmarried at that time. And she gets sent off to a schoolhouse far away from her town. She has a secret, and she's teaching a bunch of kids, and she likes to collect bones. And there's this weird kid that she met in the woods. That's as far as I've gotten. I really like the writing style so far, so I'm very curious to see why people say this is like Slewfoot. I do already kind of sense the vibes, but I'm excited to see if there's more than just the time period, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I'm probably gonna go to bed here pretty soon. I'm getting sleepy. I will continue this vlog tomorrow. I think I already have like 10 minutes of footage, so we might have a decently long vlog on our hands. But I'm going to bed. Goodbye. Good morning. I have not read anything, but to be fair, it's only 10 a.m. So today, it's Sunday. I spent most of the last 2 days reading. Like, I've read 2 books in the last 2 days. I finished the Say a Little Prayer yesterday, and the day before that, I read Allie Gordon's arc that I have for her new book, which, if you want to hear me talk more about that, I posted a lot about it on my Instagram if you would like to go see there. And I'm going to be posting more about it because her book doesn't come out till September 30th. So you'll see me chat about it plenty. If you like queer pre-apocalyptic, like the imminent apocalypse is coming, please check out her book. You'll hear me talk about it a million more times. Don't worry. It's called We Have Reached the End of Our Show. And Allie Gordon is a member of Team Star Kid. If you're here and a Star Kid fan, which I know quite a few of you are because my Cinderella's Castle video did some numbers in views last year. So yeah, if you're interested, please go check out Allie's book. But today I am actually doing a lot of chores. I just ate breakfast. I am doing some laundry, and I am honestly catching up on a lot of YouTube content because, again, usually I'll spend like 2 days just sitting and like reading binge wise so that I feel like I have accomplished something and like can post my stories of like what I've read, and also for content for the vlog. But today I think is going to be more of a catching up on YouTube thing. If you didn't know, I throw everything from I don't know if I've talked about this before. I throw everything from my like subscriptions list because I'm subscribed to like upwards of 50 to 60 people, if not more. At least that many people that post regularly. So I throw all of those into a watch later. And then throughout the week, I will just spend like hours at a time catching up. And when it comes to certain subjects, I will put it off because they make me angry. So I'm currently catching up on, I don't even know if you can see that. I'm currently catching up on New Evangelicals and the Tim and April show. If you are a deconstruction girly, deconstruction human, and you want to hear about a lot of things that are going on in the evangelical world so you like know your enemy, for lack of a better term, I highly recommend Tim's show. I've been following Tim since I think 2021. It was about the same time that I left church, when I was looking desperately for community because I lost my entire community coming out of that church cult. And he's been very helpful as a resource in the way that he interacts with Christian nationalism and all of that. I highly recommend their stuff. I will leave their channels linked down below. Tim has his own with the New Evangelicals, and they've actually started like a nonprofit and like are adding a bunch of people to the admin side of things rather than just Tim, who ran this for a very long time by himself. And then I love April A. Joy, who is his podcast co-host, and she was also just in Shiny Happy People season 2 if you watch that. But yeah, I'm catching up on their videos. I do put them off in my watch later, so I have like 50 of them to catch up on from the last several months because watching too much of it regularly makes me very angry. Have a lot of trauma from Christian nationalism and church hurt and all of that in general. So I'm going to spend my morning catching up on essentially Christian nationalism news and the way that they're taking over our government, because I like to stay informed, but also can handle so much. So we'll see how long that lasts. I don't know how much reading is going to happen today. I did start, I think I did a little bit of an update. I read like, I don't know, 15% of Grey Dog. I'm really liking it. I really like that it's told from a teacher's perspective as a teacher myself. I also just really like that Puritan timeline, I think I said, because it's very interesting to see women who were outside of the norms in that time. And yeah, that's my update for the morning. I will try and get some B-roll because I'm usually really bad at B-roll when it comes to vlogs. So we're going to remember this time. I would like everybody to know that right before filming this clip, I somehow pressed a button that I've never pressed on my new mic and spent the last 20 minutes trying to fix it. So, cheers. I have been so tired the last like 2 days. Anyways, I have a lot of updating to do. One, I don't even think it's on here anymore. No, it's not. I finished Grey Dog. I really liked this. I'm a big fan of that like Puritan area where they were accusing everybody of being witch, like witchy horror. This definitely fit that bill. I understand why people associated in the same vein as Slewfoot. I personally think Slewfoot is a better story, but it was so fun. Big fan. And then what did I do yesterday? Again, I haven't been feeling that great. I don't think it's COVID. I will say that the members of Starkid, like a couple of them were very sick after the weekend of shows that I went to, so I don't know if we caught something there, even though we were masking at the theater, or just from all the travel and like stops at like gas stations and stuff, because obviously there's a COVID surge, but I don't think it's COVID. I don't have any of the symptoms that I've had with any of the COVIDs. I know the new COVID like big symptom is razor blade throat, which I don't have, and as somebody who has had strep many times, I'm very familiar with that feeling. So mine is just mainly exhaustion. It is also 108 degrees where I am right now, so that might be part of it. Even with the air conditioning, I feel like it's struggling to keep up. But yeah, I've been so tired this week. I also am like super updated on the news, which I try to only do every so often because when I do, I get angry. So not only am I updated on like Christian nationalism stuff from catching up on a lot of Tim and April stuff, but also I did the scrolls of the TikTok and I'm updated on all of the things that the regime is currently doing, and it's the anger, very real. Not having a good time here in America. And if you can agree, please comment down below so I don't feel crazy. Because sometimes I feel a little bit crazy. What else did I do? Yesterday, very briefly, I went to a bins, not like a Goodwill outlet, but like a different type of bins place that's around here. Went to the 50-cent section to check it out. Got 2 books. Where's the other one? Oh yes, the energy drink. I got these 2. Again, 50 cents each, so I spent $1. I also bought some brush, like paintbrush, acrylic marker things that I've been wanting that are like $13 for some reason on Amazon. I don't know why craft supplies is so expensive, but I got another gospel, which I'm going to do a rant about this later. Just you wait. And then I got Impossible Purities, Blackness, Femininity, and Victorian Culture, which are all things. Not so much the Victorian part, but other things I'm very interested in. So I'll let you know how that goes whenever I get to it. What else happened? Yeah, I started reading this. And I want you to know, let me set my energy drink down before I drop it in anger. I've made it this far. That's where my bookmark is, right? It's 46 pages. The first, I don't know, 10, 20 pages, pretty solid, denouncing Christian nationalism. Then we get to page 14. And the author goes, oh, I'm not affirming, which if you don't know, you're not familiar with that Christianese, that means that they think being gay is a sin and that you cannot be gay and be a Christian, and they don't support gay marriage and all of that. So, big yikes on the author's part. He also very clearly, at the same time, states that he's not trying to change you to the democratic agenda, and he also thinks that abortion is a sin and women should not have the right to that autonomy. And I was like, compared to the pages of, wow, this is why Christian nationalism is bad, and this is why we've had so many other issues, and here's what happened on January 6th, and I was not a January 6er, to go to affirming and hating abortion. I was like, okay, a lot of Christians who are not Christian nationalists also do that. He also has a quote from Greg Locke in here, which, if you're familiar with what happened in Christian circles, that man is absolutely a Christian nationalist. Oh gosh, I have literally pages and pages of me just writing in the margins of going, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Let me see if there's anything other interesting. Oh, I had to fact check the whole thing he said about MLK. He went on a whole rant about Martin Luther King, and I was like, what are you talking about? Hello. And I keep saying that it kind of feels like I walked in on the middle of some random white man who heard about deconstruction within the Christian sphere, and was mildly interested in it because of the January 6th riots and stuff, and then decided that his privilege was more important and that he still wanted to suppress women and queer people, and then but also goes on about how much he hates all of these other groups of people. He apparently hates the Catholics, he apparently hates all evangelicals. He thinks all evangelicals are Christian nationalists for some reason. But he also will go on and say stuff like he condemns the genocide in Palestine and what Netanyahu is doing is wrong. He also apparently hated Abraham Lincoln. He thinks that he wasn't a real Christian because he did not step foot inside of a physical church enough. That was a whole rant he went on. He also had a whole section on Paradise Lost as if it's not a fiction book, which was very, very confusing to me. I was like, are you aware of the fact that Paradise Lost isn't real and that no actual Christians base their theology on that book? Please tell me you know that. Oh, he also had a whole thing where he was referring to where the Christians in the church went wrong was after the Middle Ages, as if the Middle Ages, heavily implied in the situation, as if the Middle Ages was when we had church correct. And I read 48 pages and made a whole list of all his contradictory statements at the end of chapter, what is this, chapter 3, chapter 2? Chapter 2. This book is only 160 pages long, so I might finish it because a lot of it is also just references at the end and acknowledgments and notes and bibliography. I'm so confused by this book because he is so determined to condemn Christian nationalism and things like the genocide in Palestine and Gaza, but also hates so many other people. It really feels like some white guy was I recognize that those are bad things, the insurrection on January 6th, and there's a genocide going on in Palestine, but puts his own white privilege above all of those things. He even references in here several times about how black and brown people have been treated horribly, but also goes back and forth on opinion. It's so confusing, and I feel like this whole book is so contradictory, and I understand why it only has 15 reviews on Goodreads. And this is only this came out last year. This man is also Oh my god, that was another thing he said. This man is from Michigan. I think he has spent his whole life in Michigan, from the sounds of it. He works at Baylor. So there's that, if you're familiar with Christian universities. But also, like, he keeps saying, like, oh, everybody in the South, is people in the South never go to church. And I'm like, I'm not saying that everybody in the South is a good Christian or at least follows their own rules. But it is part of the culture. As somebody who lived in the South for a year, I lived in Georgia for a while. People absolutely go to church most Sundays if they have the opportunity to, especially if they're white. And there's also the entirety of, like, all of the black churches that exist across the country. He also quite literally was putting words in MLK's mouth, which was the most frustrating thing to me because I was out here, like, fact-checking the crap out of his claims. He kept being like, MLK wanted everybody to become a Christian. I was like, hold on. I'm pretty sure he didn't. What are you talking about? This is a wild ride, and I will keep you updated because I will probably finish it in the next couple of days. I think I'm only going to let this vlog go on for like another day or two, but baffled by the existence of this entire book and this man's, like, chaotic thoughts. Anyways, I also went to little free libraries. Sorry, I needed to go on that rant. I went on a little free library hunt, which we haven't done since we got here, so I thought it was about time. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books, right? Yeah. I picked up a copy of The Circle because I've been wanting to reread it. And my copy is one old and beat up and packed away in a storage unit. And also, this is about the concept of privatization of things. Like, there's a person that, like, has to be online at all times and for the sake of transparency. This deals a lot with privacy, which is something we're having an issue with right now in America. So I thought it was a good time for a reread. That's been on one of my favorites for a while. I have read The Circle many times. So I picked up a copy of that in case I want to reread it anytime soon. I have None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I'm not a big thriller person anymore. I think I've read too many. I'm too good at predicting a lot of them. I've heard this is one of her best ones. If you agree, please let me know. I have a Kurt Vonnegut. I have Galapagos. Do I know anything about this? I imagine it's dystopian of some kind. Or some sort of sci-fi, because that's what most of Kurt Vonnegut's is. I read Slaughterhouse-Five in school, like a lot of Americans did, so I picked this up. I have 2 historical fictions. I have The Soviet Sisters, set in 1947 Berlin. I think I am on a historical fiction kick. To be fair, most of that historical fiction has been queer, so we'll see how I do with non-queer ones. Because to my knowledge, I don't think either of these are queer. If I'm wrong, please correct me. And then the other one I picked up is The Lilac Girls, which sounds like it might be, because if you didn't know about lavender marriages, lilac lavender, maybe I'm doing a reach there in sheer hope that it might be queer. And then I have Don't Let's Go to the Dogs Tonight, An African Childhood. I have seen this cover and heard of this several times, so as soon as I saw it in the little free library, I had to pick it up. I know it deals with racism. And then we have The Unbinding by Walter Kern. I think this was also dystopian. An omnipresent subscriber service ready to answer, solve, and assist with clients' every problem. Is this about ChatGPT? Before we had that? When was this written? 2006. I'm sure that's going to be fun. So yeah. I'm very much on a dystopian kick, but also I feel like it's depressing me at the same time of being caught up with actual current news that feels dystopian and then reading dystopian things. It's a lot. And then I also started an audiobook. I don't have a copy of it. I started the audiobook of White Evangelical Racism by Anthea Butler. This is along the same lines of Christian nationalism and how we got here. Which obviously is a big special interest of mine right now. So this is only like 4 hours, but I also started taking, oh, that's what I was looking for. I started taking notes Also, for anybody who has religious trauma that happens to be here, I did watch the season of Shiny Happy People and took notes, so that video will hopefully also be coming soon. But yeah, I already have 3 pages of notes on like 100 pages of that book, so we have that going on. I'm not currently in the middle of a fiction book. I think the closest thing I have, I like barely started The Gate of the God or The Gate of the Feral Gods by Matt Dinniman, which is the 4th Dungeon Crawl book. So if I have the sudden urge to read a fiction book, I have a bunch of things on hold too. But yeah, that's the update of the last 2 days. I picked up some books from thrifting in little free libraries. I'm like knee deep in reading about and listening about Christian nationalism, and I'm deeply baffled by the existence of this book. And I can't wait to. Actually, I can't wait because it's so confusing. But I sincerely hope that if I decide to get rid of this, and there's a very likely chance that I will, that somebody will enjoy my arguing with this author in the margins when I put this in a little free library at some point. Just passing along the facts. We are arting to de-stress. This is how we de-stress. Except for that, that's... Yeah, and that one. De-stress. Hi, it's like a day later and I wanted to have a conversation. So I've been posting on TikTok mainly about my deconstruction comment or content and stuff because I've finally decided I want to have a chat about what's been not only going on in the world, but the way that Christian nationalism is a big part of why we are where we are right now in America with the current regime. And there's been a lot of like discourse. I'm gonna add those clips in here because I think that they're interesting and I don't really want to put them as their own video because they are a response to the responses I got from my original deconstruction content talking about how NYC read a letter from Trump at their national youth event of thousands of people. If you haven't seen my video, me talking about that, it's a couple videos back. I'll link it down below. But I posted responses to it of comments that I got on that video and why people have such a big issue with Christianity in particular in America right now because of what it's doing to the country and the people that are in charge fall under those regimes and everything. So I am going to add those clips in here, but I also wanted to talk about the concept that there is this like weird, I don't know if it's considered like the anti-intellectualism conversation or if it just falls into part of that, but there's this whole thing of people now going on, and if you didn't know, I'm a big Star Kids fan. My whole last video was about them. But there's like a discourse going on about people saying that Star Kids shows aren't political. And I'm like, for context, for those of you who have never seen the show, there is a song sung by the bad guys, for not wanting to spoil it, called America is Great Again. And people are like, oh, the show was written in 2018. It doesn't mean what it means now. I was like, it should scare you that it means more and is even more terrifying and accurate now, 7 years later, when that song was written 2 years after that man got into office. There are people who saw this coming long before the rest of us did. And people are like saying, oh, Star Kid doesn't know anything about politics. They're just like silly little theater kids. Star Kid is a group of grown ass 20s, 30s, 40-year-old adults. To call them silly little theater kids and that they don't make political commentary is the wildest take I've ever heard, and I'm probably going to film a whole video about this. I've already started taking notes and like screenshots of the conversations that are going on. So if you're interested in that Star Kid video, let me know. I'm probably going to film it anyway, even if nobody answers. I know a lot of people on Twitter that were involved in this discourse agree that it needs to be talked about because I feel like the reason we are in the position we are now is because there are so many people so willing to like stick their heads in the sand and not know what's going on in the current political climate of America. And it is happening in other parts of the world, which I think a lot of people also aren't realizing. but obviously it's bad here and it affects us, so we're more aware of it. I don't understand the people who are just so incredibly unaware. I know life is hard right now. I know that everything is going up, but to like make the decision to stick your head in the sand, I will never understand. So yeah, that's my political commentary of the day and rant about people who refuse to interact with certain media in the way that it was. It feels like the whole conversation, to bring it around to books, it feels like the whole conversation that was happening back in November when he got elected, where people were being like, books aren't political. The fact that a lot of you can even read and read that book and read things like smut is the most political thing I could ever think of. I don't understand where the cognitive dissonance is coming from. But yeah, that's my rant of the day. I'm gonna add in the clips of me responding to comments from my deconstruction video. And yeah, if you want to follow me on Twitter, or not Twitter, on TikTok, I it's the same name that I have here. It's always linked down below. But I also got the stupid pop up this morning of the September 13th. We're gonna get new community guidelines. So who knows how long Twitter is? I keep saying Twitter. TikTok is of this world. Because the last time we got a pop up like that, Twitter has. If I say Twitter one more time, TikTok has not been the same since. And we all know that for those of us partake over there. And as somebody who's been finally adding to a lot of the conversations that happen over on TikTok, I am actually kind of upset. But I know those conversations will still happen. It's just going to be harder to find it. I really hope that more people come to YouTube. I know a lot of people did it with the last scare with the TikTok shutdown. So I'm hoping more people do come to YouTube because I do think YouTube is the least. I don't want to say biased, the least like discriminatory. Like it doesn't shut down as many words as like we have become aware that TikTok does, and like bans words and stuff. So yeah, that's my political rant of the day. Thank you very much. Enjoy these clips. Hello. It's been about 2 weeks since I posted my story time of my issues with what NUIC, with North American Youth Congress by the UPCI, decided to do this year. If you didn't see it, go a couple videos back. You'll see that they decided to read a letter from the current president of the US, which, if you don't know or have been living under a rock, is Donald Trump, and how he would protect their right to worship, as if Christians have ever been persecuted in the United States ever. And I got a lot of comments. I don't know how to share, nor do I want to go through all the comments and share them as in like replies. One, because I don't want to put all of them on blast, because a lot of them were actually attempting at least to have a conversation, even if I very much disagreed with them. So I'm not going to put those people on blast. But there were also just a bunch of what I would call trolls, of people who are up in arms and on fire for Jesus coming out of Congress. And I also realized a lot of Christians were really touchy that week because that was the same week that Shiny Happy People season 2 came out. Didn't plan that. I didn't even know about it until after all of that happened. But I did watch it and I loved it and related to it a little too much. But I took notes on the comments that I got, and I'm going to just chat about a few of them. And if I have more to say, I will make individual videos about them. So let's go. I got a just move on comment, which was a personal favorite. It was one of the first ones too, if I'm remembering correctly. And they also claimed that type of stuff happens in every church. And what I took from that is that this person in particular said, I see the problem. I see that there are problems with the church, but I'm just not going to do anything about it because it doesn't affect me. Which is how we got into the position that we are right now with the current regime in the United States. Next, we have, it's not worth your mental state to even think about that. Falls under the same category. Not my problem because I have no morals. Got it. Then we have number 3s. Well, somehow one person thought that I was worshiping, like talking about them worshiping David Bernard. Well, if you don't know, David Bernard is the UPCI president, And he has been for quite a while. He was like the entire time that I was in this religious cult. And the UPCI has like, I think, 1 million. I will fact check those numbers and bring them up in another video. 1 million members. It is the largest oneness denomination. Oneness, if you didn't know, is people who believe that Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are all in one and they are all one person, not like the Trinity that a lot of other denominations believe. But anyway, somebody thought I was worshiping David Bernard for some reason, and I was like, no, my issue with David Bernard is that he is the leader, he is the face of that church. And so I imagine that he was the one who made the decision to read that letter aloud, especially since he was the one that actually read it. And decided at a youth event of 36,000 children and young adults, obviously with youth pastors and other things going on there, because I think anybody's technically allowed to go, that it was a good idea to read a letter from a rapist and convicted felon who is currently sitting in office, just because he's sitting in office and that gives him power. My actual issue in that video was that they chose to read this at a youth event. You want to read that in your churches? Problematic, but go ahead. But to read it at a youth event of thousands of young people, and yet you guys are the ones that are worried about indoctrinating the kids. You wanted kids to see that as a good thing, that he was going to protect their right to worship, which is a later thing, so we'll get to that in a second. I thought that was questionable. So that was my issue with it being David Bernard. Once somebody did tell me that's who it was, because I couldn't see him from the distance that the video was taken. We got a lot of, but they're illegal though. And my response to that, to anyone who ever says that to me, is, have you ever crossed the street not on a crosswalk, like walked across the street because there were no cars? Do you know what that's called? It's called jaywalking. Do you know what jaywalking is? A civil offense. Do you know what being illegal in the United States is? A civil offense. Thank you. Please read some laws, maybe. I got a lot of, you didn't leave a cult, you backslid. So didn't deny the cult part, apparently. And I just wanted to say the backsliding is like my biggest pet peeve as somebody who has left the church, because it literally just means we will not take accountability for what we did to you. It must have been Satan. Satan is the only person who could have led you away from the church. Not your own brain, not your own morals, not your concern for other people and how it was affecting them. It's just the church's way to never take accountability for any harm that is caused by them ever. Ever. Must be Satan's fault. AKA victim blaming. Oh, another one I got was, we're just happy that he noticed us. And he was protecting our right to worship. Let's get back to that one. We have, my response to most of these was, when have Christians ever been persecuted in the United States? And I got one of two responses every single time somebody actually deigned to answer me. One was, when my church was closed at the very beginning of COVID for those like 2 to 4 weeks. I think my church closed for 2 months, which was a long time compared to other churches I recognize. But also we had a really good like live streaming platform already, so we didn't have to scramble to do that a way a lot of other churches did. But they saw the government and the CDC asking them during a worldwide pandemic, not just an American like epidemic, worldwide pandemic, as religious persecution. And I know they're not the only ones. There are tons of denominations and non-denominational and Christian nationalists everywhere that held super spreader events because they didn't think COVID was real. So you were asked to protect your neighbors by not becoming a super spreader event until we knew more about this virus. And you took that as religious persecution. I'm gonna let you sit with that one. What was the other one I got? Oh, I had one person say that, oh, if I like make shirts or anything online and a customer asked me to put love is love on it, that is persecution, because I would get canceled online if I came out and said, hey, I didn't want to do this for a gay couple. You are a business is not your religion. There seems to be people having a really hard time separating those two things. You not wanting to make a love is love shirt for a queer couple or a queer person, get it. You have the ability to refuse them. You have plenty of conservative people who will buy from you, especially now where they go out of their way to buy things from non-liberal or queer or whatever they decide to deign as the Antichrist that day. You have the ability to advertise to your people. Why would you want to advertise to everyone else? If you think that will hurt your business, you're the one that chose to do that, not the person who didn't want to support a bigot. And this is already 10 minutes, so come back for more for a part 2 if you would like. And we're back for part 2 of the comments that I got on my video that accidentally went slightly viral in the UPCI realm, because I posted it right after North American Youth Congress and after Shiny Happy People came out. Okay, our next one was, I just always hold respect for any authority. So you don't question anyone who is in power over you, ever. Not your boss, not your dad, not your mom. I guess in those religious spaces it would be your dad, not your pastor, not your local representatives for government. They've never done anything that upset you in some way. If that's the case, I want to tell you, you should always be able to question the authority of any person you come across at all times. Otherwise, it is not actually concern that they have for you. It's not, what's the word I'm trying to say? It's not freedom or actual love if you can't disagree with somebody. At that point, it's just control. If you feel you are not able to disagree, it's control. No matter what context you put that in. Please deconstruct the whole authority complex that Christians are taught and have it hammered into them. I know that they are. There is some small part of me that feels bad for a lot of the people raised in these spaces, because I know not all of them are bad people. I'm very well aware of that. I think of the people that I left back in Ohio, and I think just a lot of them were lied to. And a lot of them were brought up in this and never had a say in the matter. And a lot of very charismatic people are in leadership in those circles, especially in the UPCI, especially when it comes to like worship teams and the worship music. I know that the music is so good in those circles. That's why I was there for so long. I was a theater kid. I love singing. I love music. That's how they got me in there, in the worst mental health space of my life. Was I wanted to be a part of how good that music program was. And I was. And I was a part of it for many years. And I was okay with all the stipulations because I thought they were helping me. Oh, I missed one over here. We have, most people get offended if you bring up God nowadays, was a sentence that people actually said to me in my comments. And I was like, I don't think that's true unless that happens in your personal life. Yes, a lot of people are offended when you bring up God in the current political climate of the United States, because the people, or the vast majority, overwhelmingly loud people who are in positions of power in our government right now, claim to love God, and they're kidnapping people off the streets. So yeah, I imagine there are more people nowadays who are like, I don't really want to talk about necessarily God until I figure out what type of Christians. Are you like a Jesus follower who like actually follows the words in the Bible, or are you just like that angry God of the Old Testament that nobody likes but just pretends doesn't exist for the people who have never actually read their Bibles? We could get into that whole rabbit hole. Because yeah, people claim, oh, I can't talk about God, it's persecution. It's not persecution. Oh, that was another one. That reminds me of this country was founded on God. God was taken out of the schools. God was never in the schools. God was added to the schools when he got added to the Pledge of Allegiance. One nation under God, the under God part was not always there. Please do some research on that. It'll blow your mind. And also, God was added to a lot of documents in the 1800s around the same time that the KJV version that a lot of churches, especially like super apostolic doctrine churches, use in their churches, like to put up on the slides and stuff. And like the one that your pastor reads out of, a lot of them are KJV. I've seen them, I've heard them, I've heard all of them. That document, that version, that translation of the Bible is the reason that the Bible has been put onto so much of America's actual founding documents. It was not always there. It just wasn't. Please do some research on that and do not just go off what your pastor has told you your whole life. Oh, also, again, America was not founded on God. It was founded on the freedom from religion, because they were escaping a theocracy. Not that I don't have my own qualms with the actual founding fathers. I do not hold them on any sort of pedestal. They literally committed a genocide, but at least get your facts straight on that one. It's never been a Christian nation, ever. Then we have, there was a bunch of Jesus said to respect leadership, referencing the give to Caesar what is Caesar's, that entire passage. And to that I definitely said, yes, Jesus did say to respect leadership, but in the same vein of wives should submit to your husbands, the part that the patriarchal Christians like to leave out of that is that the same way that you should submit to your wives. So if your husband is not respecting you, you have no reason to respect him. That's what they leave out of the submission doctrine. They just hear it as, oh, women have to be subservient to men. Only if the man is actually leading in a Christ-like way. If he is not, if he is doing anything that is not of Christ, you do not have to follow that man in any way, shape, or form. That is actually biblical. But yes, that also applies to public representatives, even the president. If he is not respecting you, if your leaders, if your government is not respecting you, you have no reason to have to respect them. We don't just respect them for respect's sake. We respect them if they're actually doing their job, if they're actually listening to their constituents, if they're actually doing what the people want them to do. If they're not, no, you don't have to respect them. That's not what respect means. Oh, somebody also said that my entire thing was passive aggressive. If you want to see my lived experience and my frustration with this entire sect of Christianity as passive aggressive, I can't stop you. I don't think I was passive aggressive. I think I was telling my story, but also you are allowed to have your opinion, even if I disagree with it, which seems to be a very hard thing for a lot of these people to follow. As they come into my comment section tagged as deconstruction to tell me things that I already know about the Bible and that I disagree with. I do not believe that the Bible is infallible. I think it has been through 1,000,001 translations, and it was also written by men. God didn't write it. Was it inspired? Maybe. Could it also have just been a book to control women because it's a patriarchal religion overall? Yeah. And then, those were the ones that I really liked. No one makes you stay, so it can't be a cult. Or in the same vein, nobody makes you wear a skirt. My favorite comment for people who mention the skirt thing, this is specific to the UPCI and Apostolic Pentecostals, is that they say, oh, you don't have to wear a skirt, but if you want to join any ministry, especially on the platform, you do have to wear a skirt. Please go to your leadership as somebody who has not converted to the skirt portion of a heart issue is what they often call it. and you have a pixie cut and you have piercings and you have tattoos and you wear pants, go and you go, oh, I want to be on the worship team. You know the first thing they're going to tell you, because they did this to me. I did not have all of those things, but I was not one wearing pants. That you have to get baptized. You have to wear skirts at all times, like not just at church. You can't post on social media in pants. That would be sinful. If you want to be on this worship team, you have to do this, 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 and this. So we make sure that you're a real Christian. And then in the same vein, nobody makes you stay, so it can't be a cult. If you disagree with a single thing, or you question your pastor, if you question a thing and they don't know how to answer you, if you are literally doing anything that is not a part of their rule list, if you were like seen with a boy as a grown ass adult, in the hyphen age, as they like to call it, aka like anybody between the age of like 18 and 30 who isn't married, if you're seen with a boy, it's seen as sinful and that you could be led into temptation. They say this to grown ass adults who are just going to get pizza after youth group, after worshiping Jesus for like 4 hours. And what they do, if you go against your rule list, and I have a whole story surrounding this, of this not only happening to me, but plenty of other people that I knew who also ended up leaving, and some who ended up staying, which I understand how hard it is to leave, so I can't even fault those people, is that they remove you from any ministry that you're a part of. So, for example, in my situation, I was removed from the platform, from the working with children. I did a lot of stuff with the children, whether it was check-in, whether it was like actual Sunday school, all of that. Did all of that until they feel that you have repented enough. In my case, I believe it was 3 or 4 months. It might have been even longer than that before I was allowed back on the platform specifically. I know that one was the longest period of time. Until they decide that you're not being deceived by the devil or being led into sin. Or if you choose to leave, which I eventually did, you find out very quickly that the love was in fact conditional. Because they like to be like, oh, like it's unconditional love. Jesus's love might be unconditional. Yours is not. Because if you decide not to fit in, if you decide not to follow the rules that they give you to be a part of ministries and such, you're gone. I think I had 2 people reach out to me because I was gone from quick version. I was gone from the beginning of the pandemic. I came back for a couple services when we reopened. I felt a little off about it, and I stopped coming because I didn't like the way that they were handling COVID, in which by that I mean they were ignoring its very existence. And I was the only one masking when I was there. And I was like, I don't really like that. I'm going to wait till this like pandemic thing, like till we know more, till we get a vaccine. I never went back. I fully intended to go back. And then I officially sent a message to everybody that I was on a ministry with and told them I wasn't coming back. I got a couple like, oh, we should go out for coffee. Oh, we should do this. That entire, like, I think 6-month span between when I stopped coming for COVID reasons and masking at church physically to when I sent the text of I'm not coming back at all was about a 6-month span. Not a single person messaged me of all the ministries I was on. And the many times I had been there upwards of 6 days a week, doing everything that I did, unpaid labor and everything. Not a single person messaged me in that 6-month span until I said I wasn't coming back. And then they were like, oh my God, we should get coffee. Oh my God, we should do that. No, that's conditional love. Hello, update to close out the vlog. Long story short, the Bonita, no. The people we are staying with have animals. They have a little dog, which I think I've put clips of, and a cat. And they had somebody come clean their pool today. And I don't know if the cat got it or if something else happened. Where are my shoes? But I just had to save a pigeon from the pool. Is he still out here? Oh, where did you go, Mr. Pigeon? Mr. Pigeon. I didn't know if his wing was broken. I don't know if he's hiding or not. also fucking 110 degrees out here. I don't know where he went. I hope his wing wasn't broken and he was just shocked by something in the water or like fell. Because I don't see him and I was just out here. But yeah, that's been my exciting evening, and I needed to end this vlog, and I was supposed to end it an hour ago so I could start editing. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed all of my political rants. I'm sure there will be more to come as I remember to vlog. The goal is to vlog and have a vlog up every Friday. So here's to hoping that actually happens. I am going to be nannying a little bit while I'm here, so I won't always be able to film because I obviously am not going to put children on camera because I do not believe in that, but also for everybody else's privacy, which is also why you don't see me vlog very much inside the house outside of the room. So I just wanted to hop on here and end the vlog. I hope you all enjoyed this. Thank you all for watching, and please leave a comment down below, especially if you have any commentary on the media literacy argument, because I feel a little bit crazy in expecting more of people. But I also know there's a media literacy crisis and has been for years, and we're just seeing how bad it is now. So drop a comment down below. Thank you all for watching, and I will see all of you guys next time.
We confirmed you are possessed by demons, wow, which means you will be spending eternity in hell.
Well, that's not good.
And actually, Satan wants to punish you personally.
It's always something.